Does the world really need another book about Charles V, ruler of Spain, Germany, the Netherlands, half of Italy, and much of Central and South America? The Emperor himself composed his memoirs. Hundreds of biographies of him have appeared in dozens of languages. WorldCat lists over 500 books published so far this century, with Charles V in the title. Nevertheless, no work is ever perfect. The Emperor composed his triumphalist autobiography in 1550, while at the height of his powers, and several of the lives are partisan. Even some 19th and 20th century biographers used his achievements for ideological ends. Charles's modern biographers belong to one of two tribes: those who complained that their subject left too few records to allow the reconstruction of an accurate portrait, and those who protest that he left too many. In 2003, Scott Dixon, a member of the first tribe, declared that Charles left us little trace in the records of what he was really like. Of the many thousands of letters dispatched from his desk, very few make any mention of personal details. The following year, Harald Kleinschmidt made a similar claim. There is an abundance of texts bearing Charles's name, but he never saw most of these, and among the minority of letters that he did write with his own hand are some which do not reflect his own thoughts, but those of his advisers. Karl Brandy, author of a 2-volume biography of Charles, belonged to the second tribe. Not for many centuries, he wrote in 1937, could any prince compare with him in the number of revealing documents which he left behind. A few years later, Federico Cabot went even further, and claimed that Charles V left us more holograph documents than any other ruler in history. In 1966, Fernand Braudel argued that previous historians failed to reconstruct Charles's thoughts, his temperament, and his character, mainly because the surviving sources are too abundant. Looking for the emperor's personality amid the mass of papers, he concluded, is like looking for a needle in a haystack. In 2002, Wim Blockmans concurred. The body of source material concerning the emperor is so massive it is impossible to survey the whole of it. Impossible? Certainly the surviving sources are massive. Charles signed his first letter at age 4, and by the time he died had signed more than 100,000 documents in Dutch, French, German, Italian, Latin, and Spanish, adding a holograph postscript to several of them. His holograph letters, those written entirely with his own hand in French, Spanish, and occasionally German, cover thousands of folios. Charles's epistolary output survives in archives and libraries all over Europe, in part because he spent so much of his reign on the move.